Hello, creative people. Welcome to Creative Conversations. My name is Hala Citron, and so excited to see people jumping on already. Woohoo! Hey, Morgan. So I'm so happy that you're here and that you have chosen to spend this hour with us. Just to give a little backstory, this podcast was born from the mission of my company that's called I Am Creative. And it's all about expanding the definition of creativity beyond a pencil and a paintbrush, and to empower people, especially adults, to realize and own their talents that come in so many different forms. And here I get to talk to these inspiring people that have professions and hobbies and interests that are so widespread and varying, from a biology professor to a lawyer to a rabbi to an age alchemist and biohacker and so many more. And we dive in and we have discussions that revolve around three questions. The first is, how do you define creativity? Second, how do you incorporate it into your life? And third is, why do you think that it's important? And then we have a free-flowing conversation and we see where it goes. So I'm about to introduce my guest for today, and I want to make sure that she is in the studio. Arianna, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yay, I
can!
Yay! Okay, so let me give your amazing bio here. So
My bio.
It's actually longer than you think. I got it from your website. So
okay.
So my inspiring guest for today is Arianna Ortiz. Arianna lives in Los Angeles. She was born and raised in Texas to a Peruvian father and an Irish American mother. She discovered her passion for performing at a young age, and she credits her mother for allowing her to explore these interests fully, which led her to training as an actor at California Institute of the Arts, which is where we met.
Yeah.
And she also has directed short films, music videos. She's a producer. She develops projects for film, TV, and stage. She's on the screen, and when I see her on there, I'm like, I know her, which is so incredible. So, Arianna, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. One, because I just get to hang out with you.
It's been a long time. It's been a crazy
too
long
long.
time. It really has. So let's just say I will tell people that we have known each other a while, Arianna and I.
That's so sweet. You're like not going to say exactly how long.
See, because I don't even remember. It is in the 90s. That's all I know. And however long that was, it seems like I know. So yes, it's been a while. But before we get to my would you rather question, is there anything else you want to add to the bio before we dive in?
Well, I don't know if it'd be interesting for people to know that in the midst of everything else I do, I also had a very long career in radio.
Yes. Oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
Well, that's because it was like another life, and that's how I like it. Mm-hmm. I worked my backside off at that job for a very long time. And it was an unusual job, but a job nonetheless that utilized my skills and my talents, but was also my survival job. And yeah. That's all there is. That's all there is to say.
Yeah, well, we're going to dive into a lot of conversation as we go. So let's do the would you rather. So,
okay.
Would you rather hear good news first? Wait, hold on. Would you rather hear the good news or the bad news first?
Bad news, for sure.
Why?
I'm a pragmatist. I grew up very poor, and worked my way through everything. At Cal Arts, I had I don't know how many jobs while I was going to school full time and doing work study, and I had scholarships. So I'm like, just give me the bad news so I can deal with it. And then the good news is just, hey, all right.
It's icing on the cake.
Yeah, because my whole life growing up was bad news. So I'm just, let's just get it over with.
Totally get it.
That was grim. That was grim.
No, but it's survival. It's true. Like I totally get it. I think that way too. I'm like, okay, just tell me the bad so I
You,
know what to prepare for, and then
yes,
then give me the good. Then give me
you
the
are.
good.
You are totally like that. You were very similar, and I remember you being like, just give me the best. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, totally understand. Okay, so the people that are on now know this, but anybody else joining on, the whole purpose of the live is to utilize the text box below. You can ask questions, you can be part of the conversation, make comments, so please feel free. And Ari and I will, Ari, God, I
You
have
can
to
call me
apologize.
Ari.
I have to say from the very beginning, though, if I mess up on my words today, I apologize. I don't know what it is with my processing today of my words.
Listen, words are hard. Words can be very hard. The other day I had to tape an audition, and you usually have to do a slate. Like, hi, my name's Arianna Ortiz, and I'm this tall, and this is where I'm located. I could not say my name for the life of me. I looked at my other. I could show you the video. I looked at my husband, and I was like, what is wrong with me? I cannot even say my own name today.
Did you get through it?
I did. I'm a professional. Of course I did.
How many takes was it?
We don't need to talk about that right now.
But you did it.
I did
Good
it.
job. Good job. That's the good news.
Yeah.
So let's dive into question number 1.
Okay.
So Arianna, how do you define creativity?
It's funny because we connected a little earlier today to just make sure, technically I knew what I was doing. Thank God. And, and you mentioned what the questions would be, and I was like, oh, I should think about that. And then I decided that I shouldn't think about that.
No, you shouldn't. Yeah, exactly.
So I apologize for not thinking about it.
No
because
reason. It's good to be spontaneous. That's the point.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to answer purely. But I think part of the reason I also didn't want to put a lot of too much thought into it is that I think I personally do not define creativity, because creativity to me is such an integral part of the human experience. My mother was a painter. My mother is a very, very gifted artist, painter, visual artist. And because she was a broke single mother with 3 children, she could not pursue that. But my mother is still a very gifted artist. She instead channels her creativity into how she's constantly redecorating her home, rearranging her home, or experimenting with food. One Christmas, I remember when we were kids, and one Christmas she was like, I'm going to make this shrimp dish, and we were horrified. We were like, what? It's Christmas. What are you talking about? You make turkey and ham and I was thinking about that because of the Thanksgiving holiday. I was thinking about that, and I was like, I need to call my mother and apologize, because I did not understand at the time that we were completely quashing her creativity and need to explore. So I think that creativity is it's such an important part of the human existence. I don't think we can live without it, whether we're consuming it because we ourselves may not be in touch with how to be creative, even though we understand what it is and we appreciate it. I think every single human being, it's just this segment of our souls, or segment of our existence. Whether, consuming it, creating it, ourselves, I think every single day we probably experience some form of creativity. You see what I mean? It's it's just a part of that's what I personally believe, because I think that it takes creativity to do all sorts of things. I just adopted a cat. I'm looking for all sorts of ways to entertain him and connect with him. And, he's a different species from me. So that's a creative endeavor in many ways. And I don't personally always have, like, I'm going to cook tonight. I didn't do any cooking for Thanksgiving. We ordered Indian food. But
Uh-huh.
tonight I'm going to bake a pie because I do things out of order. And and I'm going to make a homemade bolognese. And, I'm doing, like, for some reason tonight I'm cooking, but yesterday I was writing and ordering Indian food and, watching something on Netflix. For some reason, some days I'm choosing to be creative in how I cook. Some days I'm choosing to be creative about playing with my cat. But in every day, there's creativity. Now
Yeah,
I'm rambling. Now I'm just
no,
rambling.
no, but that's perfect. This is good because I totally, yeah, I mean, this is what my whole company's about. I mean, my company is all about expanding the definition of creativity to open people's minds and expand their thinking to
Mhm.
understand that it comes in everything because so many people, from my
Oh yeah.
experience, especially as adults, we get caught up in our routines and our responsibilities and doing that job that we're not so happy with
Yeah.
because that's what we went to school for. And, you have kids, you have pets, you have whatever, you have rent, and you're just doing things because you're on automatic pilot. But so many people shut down and kind of forget about that whole creative aspect, but they're just not thinking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think maybe sometimes creativity is glamorized, that, oh, that's what artists do, or painters, or, writers, and they do. But there are things that other people do that are a complete marvel to me. Like what you do, what you've always done with your pottery, your art, your ceramic art, has always blown me away. I would never have thought of to do some of the things that I've seen you do, ever. So I can marvel at, the way, whether they cook or whether they eat. Fashion is a form of creativity. The way you choose to dress. Um, I kind of love fashion. I can't afford fashion, so I don't get to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are creative ways to do that, whether you're renting clothing or going to thrift stores or whatever, to find a way to express yourself in how you're dressed. Or I always marvel at people who find a way to do that, or the way they wear their hair. I've always loved, by the way, Hollis, I've always loved the way you worn your hair. I
Oh,
love it.
really? Oh,
Always.
thank
Always.
you.
You've always got like a really cool cut, you know? Uh,
You.
so
I
and
actually, yeah, go ahead.
we don't think of those things. Do you know what I
Well,
mean? We don't think of those things as creativity, but they absolutely are, because they're a way of expressing ourselves.
and that's really what it is expression. I had someone on in my membership that I have, and it is all about having different themes for each month. And one of them was about fashion and hair, and
Yeah.
that being creativity. And she has, it's the hair salon that I go to, and she was talking about how she said something to the effect, which I love, was you wear your hair doesn't wear you.
Mm.
So it's kind of like there's very much of a philosophy kind of with, when you take the time to experiment, because it is a lot about exploration and
Yep.
experimentation and
Yeah.
trying different things. And if you find that haircut and you're like, that's the one that works for me, like you have this beautiful, like long flowing kind of hair, and you can do a lot with it for a lot of different kinds of characters, I would think, and different kinds of things like that. And your hair is really, there's a lot of change within what you have. Some
Yeah.
people always
It's
get the same cut, like all the
sure.
time, and never go with, they don't do anything different to it because they just don't know what to do with it. They're just not
and
having
it's
fun.
and it's scary, even though hair grows back. it's
Yes.
it's it's scary to change your hair. And it's funny that we're even talking about hair, because my father's from Peru, and he's very mixed. He's probably predominantly what we call mestizo, which is that he's mixed. He's part Spanish and part indigenous, but his grandmother was black. So he's very mixed, and so I'm inherently very, very mixed as well. My mother is white, and I look exactly like my Peruvian family, but I'm very pale compared to them. And one of the things that I have inherited is this very textured hair. And I have for years battled my hair. It's easy as a performer to keep it long because then, as you said, it's very versatile. But in my everyday life, it's actually been kind of a battle. And this year, and specifically during the time of COVID, it was like, oh, now I finally have a safe space to just let my hair go crazy. And that's what I've been doing. And I've been enjoying it. I wouldn't necessarily go out in public with the way that my
Is it really that bad? Ask Earl. Is it really that bad?
it's not that it's bad, it's that it's insane. My hair is insane. It truly has, and I'm sure anybody who's listening who has curly or textured or even wavy hair understands this, that it's so unpredictable. You have literally no control over it. So I've been trying to experiment with it and experiment with products, experiment with all, how am I wearing it? Am I going to put it up in a scarf? Am I going to, and I know that's it, like in one ways that can sound silly to somebody, but especially when you're a performer, a professional performer on film and television, which is what I am. And on top of that, I'm Latina and I'm not even fully Latina. I'm this mix of all these things. There's this layer of this is going to sound very charged, but it is, of discrimination. And so for years, I have professionally straightened my hair so as to seem less ethnic. And now in this particular year, it's so fascinating that I feel like for the first time ever, people are actually seeing BIPOC artists, and specifically, they're finally understanding that the Latin diaspora is it diaspora or diaspora? Thank you, diaspora. Is so diverse, from Afro-Latinas to white people to everything in between. In fact, the director of the film that I worked with, he's so talented. The film is coming out in January. He's Brazilian. He's Japanese Brazilian. So he's a ethnically Japanese man who speaks Brazilian. He was born and raised in Brazil. And Peru, the country that my father's from, is they have a lot of Japanese people, a lot of Chinese people. The Chinese food in Peru is amazing, and a lot of because of colonialism, a lot of Black people as well. So it's been an interesting time. At the same time that I had started, because it's been about a year or so that I stopped straightening my hair professionally, like having it straightened so that I didn't have to worry about it every single day for auditions, etc. Yeah. Right as I was trying to figure out for myself, I basically got to a point where I was like, I want to be myself fully. I want to embrace who I am fully. So that means I need to face my hair creatively. Like, how do I use this as a tool in my work, as opposed to beating it into submission to fit what the industry is willing to see in a Latin person. And so it's been a fascinating year to finally, and this is happening to a lot of people. There's another actress, a wonderful young actress that I know named Arianna Ortiz, and we've been talking about how we're going to decolonize our hair. And she's Dominican, and she's fully embraced her textured hair, and it looks fabulous, and she looks so sexy, and I'm so jealous because mine is still like this frizzy, crazy thing. Anyway.
No, but this is like a really strong topic, I think, because you're talking about hair and identity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is like, it's really, really major. Because I've been able to really think.
Yeah.
I think it's in general of how people see themselves. It's like when you have a bad hair day, you basically feel shitty. I mean, it's kind of like you kind of want to hide. Like you put a hat on, you do, because you're having a bad hair day, because it kind of it can affect you emotionally. So here you're talking about getting roles and how people see you and how people are casting you and how all of this, that's deep.
I can't talk about what the project actually was, but I had an audition for a project last week where it wasn't the most incredible role, but I was excited to do the audition because it was for a casting director that I really want them to know my work. And especially as an actor, and if you're, and especially if you're not like this, like young ingenue, you're not necessarily getting all, like sometimes you're just the social worker, you're sort of just serving the story. This was kind of one of those roles. And so it wasn't super exciting. So if I were all about, oh, I just want to be a star, I would have poo-pooed this role. But for me, I saw it as an opportunity to be creative in that, even though literally there was very, very little information about this character, and I couldn't get access to the full script. All I knew is that she was a government employee, and then she's clearly like delivering information in the script. So that's she's sort of a utilitarian character that's kind of pushing the story along in a way. I did ask my revs if they would help me see if they could track down the script, even if it was an old version of the script, because I wanted to understand the world. And they did. They're amazing. I love them. And it was so, so incredibly useful to read the script, because even though I didn't have an exciting character, what I learned about the character is that she's really good friends with somebody that everybody else hates. And that to me was a really important piece of information. And because she was a government employee, and at the same time she could be friends with this person that everybody hates, that helped me make specific choices. And I made a choice to where...
I just lost you, just as you were saying that.
Okay.
Just went out.
Maybe I'll go closer to can you hear me now? How about now?
Yeah.
Am I back?
I can hear you. Yeah, you are.
So I made a choice with the character specifically to wear her hair frizzy, because I decided she's a government employee, so this is not a very glamorous job, and she maybe doesn't have to be glamorous or care about being glamorous, because she works for like a really boring agency. And at the same time, knowing that she was able to be friends with this person that nobody else liked, I thought she's kind of a self-assured person who's unglamorous. So I ended up being really, really proud of the audition that I sent in, even though it's not an extraordinary role. I said to my manager, because he loved it, he loved what I sent. I said, look, I'm really just making these choices to entertain myself. They maybe just want somebody to come in and say the lines and deliver the plot points along. So I may be being one of those actors that's like chewing the scenery. I don't know, to be honest, but I had a good time creating this character. So that was like an opportunity for me to use my crazy hair. Whereas for another character, I would blow it out, or,
But it's so interesting. It's so interesting how you're describing, like, as I'm listening to you, you're talking about, you use words like serving the story, utilitarian character.
Yeah.
Like this whole creativity informing the characters and how you kind of need to give them a personality and a look.
For me as an actor, I have to do that, or to be honest, I can't learn the lines. Like if it's the kind of character that's just delivering information, and like if it's not a really juicy character, it's just harder to connect to the material. If you don't understand, like, what is this world you're in? Who is this person that I'm talking to? They're just words on a page. And, so it's up to me as an actor to breathe life into them, even if I have to make something up. Like if I couldn't have gotten the script, that's what I would have had to have done in order to even perform the audition. I would have had to just make a choice and create a character, because otherwise it's just talking,
Right. Yeah, it's like this authenticity. It sounds like you're.
Yeah, it's fun too. I love it. I mean, that's why I'm a professional actor. It's it's the thing that I do with the most uninhibited joy. It's very, very rare that I'll get any kind of audition or role or opportunity and I really don't want to do it. Like I can usually always find a way to love it, just because I just love the work so much.
So did you get that? Did you get that role from that character that you're just talking about, or is that recent?
I just sent that tape in last week, and I don't think it's shooting until next year, so I won't know for a while. And I never knew, I mean, people ask that, oh, I never talk about my auditions because it's sort of, it's painful for actors when someone's like, oh, did you get that job? And you're like,
Right.
no,
Right.
they didn't like me.
Yeah, but action. So I guess that since you said that, I mean, being an actor or an actress, it's a
Mm.
lot of there's a lot of rejection.
I don't call it rejection. I call it living without affirmation, because ideally, one time, this is a long time ago, but one time I auditioned for like a student film, and they emailed me to tell me that I had not gotten the part, and I was very upset with them for doing that because they rejected me. And I, as an actor, you have to put yourself on the line over and over and over again, that you build this muscle of being like, okay, I've got the role, I got the characters. Let me break this down. Let me make my choice. Okay, this is what they are. I'm going to perform it. I'm going to, you do it. You go in and do your thing, and after a while, you have to learn to just do the work and say thank you so much, and then forget about it, because it's otherwise it's an excruciating existence. Like if you're auditioning for stuff and you're waiting by the phone for somebody to give you that specific job, listen, you're gonna be Rip Van Winkle. What is that character that like wakes up and he's got the beer? Like it's gonna take a real it's a painful existence because you cannot wait for somebody to tell you you're an actor or an artist or a creative. You just have to be it. And if
So I'm writing this down. Cannot wait for someone to tell you.
no, and as hard as challenging it is as it is to be an actor, like listen, don't get me wrong. There are jobs and there are roles specifically that really hurt when you don't get them. The movie that I did, I'm in this very, 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 very special film, that I cannot wait for the world to see. It feels like the film that the world needs right now. uh, it's When I got the script for that, I wanted it so badly. I did not. I was auditioning for all these other things at the time. My reps were working their tails off and getting me some wonderful opportunities. I was up for two TV shows. One in particular that like it was like a procedural, one of these like network procedural shows where they have like 22 episodes. I would have made so much money on that show. And I was auditioning at the same time I got the script for this movie. I didn't want the TV show. I wanted to do this movie. And believe me, I did not make a lot of money doing this movie. And so I put my heart and soul into the audition. I laid it all on the floor, it's all on the tape, sent it off. And I did my darndest to do what I normally do, which is to be like, well, I did my work. I gotta focus, keep going. Just gotta keep going. And I was busy enough that I was able to do that for a little bit. And then after a couple of weeks, I just couldn't stop thinking about that movie, that role, that script, everything about it. And so I Googled the director, and he had a website, and he had all these short films. And so I just started watching all of his films. And the very first one that I clicked on happened to be what they call a proof of concept for a scene from this film. So he'd already made like a little short film kind of about this from this movie.
Yeah.
And it was a scene that was for my character. And I completely collapsed. I was just like, oh my God, like it was so beautiful. I was a puddle. And not long after that, I found out that he wanted to meet me. I made myself physically ill. I was so nervous. I wanted this job so badly. And I knew that it was the kiss of death. I knew that that's like the worst case scenario as an actor that you could be in, to want it that badly. But this script just completely touched my soul. It's so beautiful. And he was wonderful. I mean, Edson is his name, Edson Oda, and he's a really remarkable person, because he instantly, when we met, he instantly created a safe space. He immediately put me at ease. And we talked for a while, and then eventually he was like, okay, so let's talk about the character. Let's talk about, you know, and eventually he's like, I want you to go back and do this scene again. And told me the direction he wanted me to do. And I was like, great. I can have it for you by tomorrow. And he was like, no.
Right now.
Because I was like, I want this role. And he was like, no. Just, we've talked about a lot. Just, go and sit with it for a while. And when you're ready, send me a tape. I could not believe it. I was like, what? Because, it's Hollywood, you think it's Hollywood. There's always somebody who's working faster, And it was such an incredible gift that he gave me, because I had been ill the night before. I was so nervous. And I did exactly that. I just, I tried to recover after we finished our meeting. And the next day was like a Sunday. And I kind of like slept in and made breakfast. I think I ended up napping a lot that day. And it was amazing, because I remember I was on the sofa. I woke up from the nap and I went, I know exactly how to perform this scene. And I made an appointment with my friend Tim, because I wanted to just focus on the work, so I didn't want to have to do a setup myself. And I went to Tim's house, and we taped it, and there were leaf blowers going off, so that was fun. And, and I did it, and I sent it off, and then, only then, was I able to go, okay, I've given it my all. I took his direction. There's nothing more of this that I can, not that I could control it before. There's truly nothing more of this that I can control. I have to let it go. If it's mine, it's mine. And thank God it was.
How long did it take before you found out that you got the role?
I think it was another month. My reps knew before I did, because it was something I found. Oh no, it was like 2 weeks, because what I found out later, I sent the tape on a Tuesday, and by Wednesday, my reps knew that I was, basically, they were just waiting for the deal to come in, the offer to come in. They did not tell me, which I highly recommend that. I think a lot of actors, after they have an audition or callback, they want to know if they're pinned, which is what we say in the industry. You're pinned for the job, meaning you're up for the job. It makes you feel good. It's that affirmation. I did a good job. I'm a good actor. They like me. I don't want to know. I only want to know if I get the job because it's too painful. It's too painful. I have to just keep moving,
I love that suggestion that he gave of, he literally, the words that came to me were just like being in the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, he was telling you to kind of relax and just kind of be. And,
yeah, I don't know
when
if
you are that, then it flows. When you're going, there's so much busyness and there's so much, all of that other stuff attached to it. Well, I need to do this, and maybe I should do this, and maybe he'd like it better if I did this. But by being calm, it flows in.
Yeah, I learned a lot working with Edson, from that moment to being on set. And because we shot this film in like 22 days, which when you see it, it might not seem like it's possible that a movie like that can be shot in 22 days, but it's a lot of characters. It's a character story. I mean, it's a sci-fi film, but it's a character story. He just really knows how to create an environment that's conducive to just doing your best, and it's really wonderful. He's very gifted, and I think he's going to have a huge career. I'm excited for everyone to see his work.
Yeah, we'll share out the trailer.
Oh yeah,
the trailer's gorgeous. Yeah,
it is gorgeous. Oh my god.
it is. So okay, so let's get into question number 2, which is where we've kind of touched on things, but so how do you incorporate creativity into your life?
Right. Yeah, we have talked about that mainly because I think one, because I'm literally a creative professional. I do it every single day, whether it's a role that I want or don't want. Like sometimes you have to, much like other people have to get up and go and work at the bank that maybe they don't necessarily want to work at. As an actor, like people I think sort of glamorize being an actor, being a filmmaker, or any of this stuff in the industry. Sometimes you just have to like go and do work that's challenging because it's not like seemingly not super creative. Whether for me as an actor auditioning for a role that isn't challenging, or I did a lot of commercials early in my career. I do them less so now, but I still do them. I love commercials. I used to be, when I came out of Cal Arts, I was such a snob about commercials. I was a theater trained actor. I was not interested in
I will not do a commercial. That is below me.
Commercials are amazing. Once it was my boyfriend at the time was like, I don't understand why you don't do commercials. You would pay off your student loans. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh. And so then I really got into commercials, and I ended up loving them because I realized very quickly, one, I could pay off my student loans, and two, that they're just little short films that you just within 30 seconds or 15 seconds tell a really fast story. And some of the most interesting acting or compelling and challenging acting I've ever done has been in commercials. I did a depression medicine commercial that was super challenging. And I did a PSA. I didn't even make any real money off of it because it's a PSA. I did a PSA where I was acting across from myself. And it's one of my favorite commercial jobs I've ever done. It's on my comedy reel. I'm so proud of it. Commercials are really creative. So I think in lots of ways I go sometimes I have a commercial audition and all I do is like walk in and smile or whatever. And one might think, oh, that's not very creative. And sometimes it's not, but you show up, you keep showing up. So sometimes you're creative when you don't want to be or even think of it. And writing is certainly, I'm struggling right now to rewrite a project, and it's very funny. I've been procrastinating on rewriting this project for a few weeks now. And of course, it's the holiday week. Pardon me, I have to cough. Pardon me. Yesterday, I forced myself. I was like, okay, you know what the note is that you need to go do. I forced myself to go into our office and close the door, told my husband, this is what I'm doing. I am going to write, And I sat down and I did not write. I turned on Spotify and was listening to this very weird music. I don't know why. And as I was sitting there, I suddenly had an idea for what I needed to do. And I hadn't even been in there an hour. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Is this the cure for what my problem is? This note that I've been trying to fix for a very long time, the same note that I get from a lot of people over and over and over again. And I just came and sat in this room for less than an hour and fixed it.
But I
I was
think
like,
so.
I
It's
was like,
but
what am I going to do for the rest of the day? I had this whole afternoon planned.
You had it all scheduled out and time blocked. I'm doing this.
But that's
So
just it. That's why I think people think creativity is this magic thing, and sometimes you just sit down and you just do it. You know?
yeah, yeah. It's the when you get too caught up in your head, when you overthink, then things
Yeah.
get blocked. So it's just kind of it's just too much thinking. So
Yeah.
again, when you're in that state of flow and you're just kind of in that state of being, when you're distracted and you're listening to the music, then your brain is like doing other things, and then it allows for that other thought to pop into your head. I mean, I've done it so many times. I was like
Yeah.
stressing out about something that this idea that I had, but it wasn't kind of formulating in the right way. And I was just like, I'm not sure how to word it, da 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 da. And it's like, I have to walk away. I went upstairs, I just laid on our bed, and one of our cats was there. And I just sat there and pet him for about
Yeah.
15 minutes. And we were just like snuggling. And then all of a sudden, it was like literally a download. All of a sudden, it
Yeah.
was like, and I heard all of the wording in my head of what needed to be done. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I got it. It needed to be cleared. It needed to be opened up. I
I
needed to
do.
basically shut up,
Yeah,
to shut
you
myself
just
up.
yeah, you needed to push some of this stuff out of the way. And at the same time, but here's what's really interesting about this particular thing we're talking about is I think that they go hand in hand, the needing to quiet the mind or declutter the mind or whatever it is to get out of your own way, and the intention, which is me going and sitting in the office and going, oh, I'm going to write today, and here is the note that I need to be working. Like, you had the words that you knew that you needed to put together, so you had the intention,
Yeah,
and
it's a good
then
point.
you put it. And I think that can, like, think about when it's like, oh, what am I going to make for dinner? Okay, let me go see what I have in my fridge, because of course the first thing in my brain will be like, I don't want to make dinner.
Yeah.
let's just order it.
Right, right,
And my husband will be like, we have groceries. Okay,
right.
let me open the fridge. What do we have? I don't want to eat any of those things. Okay, let me open the freezer. I don't want to eat any of those things. I'm such a privileged American that closes the freezer. And I'm walking away. And as I'm walking away, oh, I know what we can have, you know? But the intention is just as important as the getting out of your way, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, and
Then,
I think that's a really good point. And it's also making me think of in college, one of my instructors would say, go to your studio and, like you said, show up and
yeah,
just be there. Even if you're
yeah.
sitting in there, even if you aren't doing anything
Mm-hmm.
and you're not sure what to do, just sit in the space
Yeah,
and be surrounded by it, be immersed
yeah,
in it. And
yeah.
by being immersed in it, whatever that looks like, then something's going to happen. Something's going to,
Oh,
whether
and
you put
he's
on music and start dancing around and it starts, you just kind of start to loosen up, or
right.
however it happens, just put yourself in the space with the intention.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've procrastinated on audition, even because whatever, I didn't quite get it. I didn't get the tone, or I didn't understand who the character was. But I'll have a deadline. So then I'm like, well, I guess I better go learn my lines. I guess I better go try and do this. And all it takes is me just sitting down and going, okay, oh, oh, I see, I see. You're like, I just needed to try a little harder. I just needed to put myself in the space of, now I'm an actor, and here's the lines, and here's the character.
Yeah. How do you remember your lines? Like all of those lines that you have, how do you remember them?
It's a very popular question. I was in a play a year ago, two, I can't remember now. I had this big speech, and this really wonderful director that I know came to see it and really enjoyed the show. And one of the very first, he's a professional director. One of the very first questions he asked me, he's like, "How'd you learn all those lines?" I just think it's really funny. It's not always easy. I have lots of different techniques. I'm sure other people have a lot of different techniques. For me, one of my favorite things to do is to record all my lines and to record the scene and the other person's lines, and to put my headphones in and to go for a walk and to just repeat them over and over again, because I'm not just learning the lines. I'm breaking down the character. I'm understanding. I'm learning the intent. Like, oh, if I'm saying it out loud, and it sort of helps it get into my body. If I'm saying it out loud and repeating it over and over, I suddenly go, oh, I understand the intention behind why they're saying that line. And that helps it get into my body. And that's actually something we learned at CalArts, not the walking, but at CalArts and theater school, and probably in lots of theater schools, we did a lot of breathing techniques, and it's all about dropping words into your body. Because you can't, my husband's really good. He's an actor. He's really good at just memorizing lines. And you know who's really good at memorizing lines are soap opera actors. I worked on a couple of soaps in my career, and I'm so impressed with soap opera actors, because we literally had a rehearsal. They had just gotten the pages, and they're like reading the script, and they're doing the rehearsal. Great. We all go and get our makeup, whatever, finished or touched up, or get into wardrobe. We come back, they knew all the lines, and it would be like 20 pages. So I was always like blown away how they did that. I don't think that I could be a soap opera actor, because I don't quite know how they do it. But I will say, and I apologize to every soap opera actor listening, that I do really. I think it's fairly rare that work is very deep, if that makes sense. I think they're extraordinary, but yeah, that was very opinionated of me. But yeah, that's my favorite way of learning lines. I also will write them out or type them out, and I'll type a line over and over and over and over again. It's not always easy, and sometimes you're doing a scene or doing a character, and you just know the lines. It's very strange.
So you're like literally internalizing it. It's just you're just getting it within you.
Yeah, because you're not just, when you're learning lines, you're not just learning the lines. You're learning the scene. You're learning the inner, what someone might call the inner monologue. This is the substance of the scene. And once in a while, I'll get a script where learning the lines is nothing, because I just instantly connect with the scene. It's fascinating.
That's a great word, actually, connection.
Yeah.
It's kind of like anything that you do. It's like when you meet somebody that you just met, and there's an instant connection. When you're doing something, whatever it is. You know, I've spoken to biologists, to an age alchemist, which is somebody who works with hormones, and just all these different kinds of people. And when you're doing something that just resonates, it's like instant connection.
Yeah. It's kind of magical sometimes.
So what else do you do for, like, is there anything that is I know we talked about cooking, but is there anything that's like your go-to, like, chill time? Do you like to jump out of planes? Do you like
I love to dance. You remember my friend Kate Weir? She was my roommate at CalArts. I don't know if you guys really
remember the name.
She was my roommate the first couple of years at CalArts, and the reason she's my roommate is because when we got, to fill out the Chenard, where you wanted to live, you could say, this is the kind, like, I want to live on a quiet floor, and, who do you want as a roommate? Do you want another actor? Do you want a dancer? And I was like, dancer. I want a dancer, because had I not been an actor, I probably would have been a dancer or a cellist. I studied cello when I was young. I really liked it, but we couldn't afford to keep the cello, so I am not a cellist. And dance classes we were super poor, so I couldn't really afford anything. I think I'm an actor because it's free. Like, all you have to do is just do it.
Right. I mean, it totally makes sense.
There's no supplies, like, that's the sad truth is that that's probably really, really true, is that because I could just audition for school plays. And so that's how and they provided the costumes and stuff. Because we didn't have any money for me to really do anything. But I love dancing. I've always loved dance. I still do. I want to make a dance. Like one of my dreams is to make a dance movie, like a really, really good dance. We told that to a friend. She unfortunately passed away, but a dear friend of ours. We mentioned that to one time, and she's like, "Wait, you want to make a dance movie? Like the kind that people overcome adversity with dance?" I was like, "Yes, I totally want to make a movie about people overcoming adversity with dance."
Like Bring It On or something.
Yeah. No, like Save the Last Dance or Flash Dance or something like
Flash Dance. That's what I was trying to think of. I just see her like running across the floor and like doing.
Yeah. She's like scrappy and she can't really afford her dance shoes. They're used. I don't know. Ignore me. But I do.
So everybody, look out for that film coming out from Arianna Ortiz.
I do. I love dancing. And I'll dance in my house regularly still. Obviously, we can't go dancing now because of COVID. But it's something I do. And there's a really wonderful online, and it's donation based. I highly recommend it. It's called Dance Church, and it's every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, and Sundays at 10 a.m. Pacific. And then they have a smaller one, I think, on Saturday mornings. Dance Church is run by like modern dancers, people in the dance industry, and it's basically like an aerobics class, like an exercise class. But the very first time I went to Dance Church was here in Los Angeles, and it was the same thing, the exact same thing that you see online, and it's Dance Church Go. It's wonderful. You can do whatever you want. So you can follow the teacher or not follow it. So I will literally do whatever I want and just dance, and then sometimes I'll do what the teacher's doing. But it's so great. Like you can just turn on Dance Church and just move in your living room. And it's really
love it. So Dance Church Go, did you say?
Yeah, Dance Church Go. If you just Google Dance Church, I'm sure you can find it. They have an Insta account, but Dance Church Go or Dance, I can't remember if it's .go. Just Google Dance Church. It's really wonderful, and you get to support the dance community because listen, actors, have it bad. Dancers have it much worse. It is a brutal, brutal life. One of my closest friends is a dancer and a choreographer, and she's a company, and she's considered very, very successful. And your body is broken by the time you're 40. Like it's a brutal existence. And if I ever felt sorry for myself as an actor at any point, that got wiped out by just like I went to New York one summer. Summers in New York are blazing, and you're dripping and it's humid. And I went with Kate to the studio because she was working on a piece with her dancers, and the studio had no air conditioning, and they were just dancing their asses off. Brutal, like working their bodies to do this work, and they're not making a lot of money. And I just have so much respect for dancers in the dance world.
Yeah, it's true. People don't really think about it, but yeah, their body is. I mean, I'm sure people admire and they're like, wow, but yeah, their body is their everything.
Yeah. Kate's I think had like both knees worked on. Anyway. So I dance a lot. I don't jump out of airplanes. But,
Have you ever jumped out of an airplane?
No. Have you? No.
I know. But Arthur has.
I was going to say, that's something Arthur would do.
Yeah, Arthur has. This was before we knew each other. But yeah.
Really?
No, I'd be like, no, I'm not freaking doing that. Are you crazy? But I admire people who would, but no.
Yeah.
I'm too much of a Virgo.
I don't know if I ever would. I think if I like got a job and like an acting gig and I needed to do it, I would do it. Just because at that point it's like, well, there's got to be a reason for it. So it's creative, But I'm not going to randomly jump out of a plane. Someone's got to pay me.
That makes sense. And I'm seeing here before we go into our third question, Arthur is acknowledging he remembers your roommate.
Kate, yes.
Very
Oh, good. Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I lived with Kate for 2 years, and then I moved in with you guys.
wow.
And Kate sort of was doing her own thing, but yeah, she's like you guys. She's like family.
Yeah, we can just like have so many years go without seeing each other, but it's just like
I know.
no time went by.
I know. It's still so weird that so much time goes by.
Okay, let's get to our third question. So, why do you think, to wrap it up, why do you think that creativity is important?
Um, well, for myself, I feel like I would die without it. I feel like it's sustenance. It's just as important as nutrition, you know. Um, and I think that's probably true for everyone, even if it's someone who just sits and watches TV all the time. That's them consuming creativity, you know. It's sustenance for the soul.
It's
Um,
beautiful.
you know,
Sustenance for the soul.
and I can't, like, as an actor, if I'm not auditioning, if I'm not, because auditioning is very creative, right? And challenging. Um, but it's a very different thing from if I'm on set shooting something, or if I'm in a play, or if I'm in rehearsals or something like that. And if I'm not in a play, in rehearsals, or audition, if I have nothing going on in my life as an actor, which does happen at times, um, I'm writing, or I'm directing a music video, or, you know, on top of creativity in my everyday life, because I can't, I can't not do it. Is that English?
Yeah,
I have to do it. I
yeah,
have to be creative, or I'm crawling out of my skin,
yeah.
or I'm shutting down. That would be the opposite. If I'm neglecting that part of myself, much like if I'm not taking myself for a walk or eating proper food, I'll shut down. So that's for me. Um, yeah, I always think that, like, I took my niece to one of the contemporary museums here when she came to visit me, and she was still a teenager at that point. She's 20 now, um, and she was very confused by it all, And but she was interested, but she was also like being a smack talking teenager and kind of poo pooing it all,
Yeah.
and it quasi broke my heart because for me, as I was growing up, I was just hungry for anything creative. I love visual art. I love specifically contemporary visual art because it's so unpredictable. Um, but at the same time, I could tell that it was tickling parts of her. It was challenging her. It was challenging her sense of self. You know, um, and she's ultimately a very creative person. She loves food. She loves exploring food, and she loves great movies and great stories and stuff, great music. I just think it's sustenance for us, whether it's to our palate or not. you know?
It's really nice though, whether it's to our palate or not, whether we accept it or not, whether we understand it or not.
Yeah,
It's if it may not suit you, it's why they have vanilla and chocolate. Like you may not like it, but you
yeah,
can acknowledge, you can appreciate, you can agree to disagree. Um, but what one person doesn't like, another person it lights them up. So can you
yeah,
disregard that? You can't disregard that.
yeah.
Just it's different and have opinions, and
I
that's a
just
good thing.
watched. I watched a film last week called. I'm really fascinated by the filmmaker Yorgos Lanthimos. He's a Greek filmmaker. He did a film that won some Oscars a couple years ago called The Favorite. Um, he made a film called The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Nicole Kidman's in it, and Colin Farrell. And I started watching the film, and I was on my, and I'm somebody who loves cinema. I love film. And I was watching and I was just like, what is this movie about? Like, I was just in a mood or whatever. And because I love this filmmaker and he's got such a clear voice, I kept watching it even though I was not connecting with it at all. And then at some point in the film, I went, oh, it's a horror film. Is it a horror film? And I was like, huh. And I just kept watching it to the end. And then by the end, I'm laughing. And then it ends. And I was just like, Googling the film and like reviews. And I was just trying to understand. I was like, yes, that is art. That is why art is so important. Like that film took me on a journey that I didn't even understand or even want to understand, quite frankly, for a part of it. And I was so glad that I watched the whole thing and then allowed myself to be challenged by it, because I learned a lot by it. And in hindsight, I went, oh, okay. I started to piece all these things together. That's important. Like
that is such an. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that is such an important thing to point out. It really is, because it's that whole journey aspect, that it's uncomfortable, that it's like, I hate this. But there's something that's keeping you there. And those are the things that you remember the most.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm guilty as anybody else that I just want to watch something and be entertained. And sometimes that's, and that to me is a freaking accomplishment in and of itself. Making any film is an accomplishment in and of itself. It's so hard to make a film. Which is why, it was sort of otherworldly for me what a filmmaker like Yorgos is doing. There was a film that came out last year called The Lighthouse, with Willem Dafoe. This is a very unique filmmaker. I can't remember his name. I'm so sorry. I hope he never, no offense, but I hope he never hears this and then doesn't hire me because he makes really, really interesting films. I mean, he made this film called The Lighthouse, which I went to see in the theaters, and he shot it in this, 3x5, like the square format, which you're in these, you're in this movie theater looking at a wide screen, but no, it's in this like boxed format, and it just makes you feel so claustrophobic, like trapped watching this film, which is about two men trapped. And I could not run from the theater fast enough when that movie was over. Like, that movie was an experience, And I still could not even tell you if I liked it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you remembered it. Like, you're still talking about it.
Oh, totally. And I do remember that the actors were phenomenal. Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. And of course, I'm an actor and I'm obsessed with great artistry and acting. And so that's very memorable. But yeah, I remember fleeing the theater as soon as possible.
It's so funny. We're going to have to wrap up soon because we're at the top of the hour. But Pulp Fiction, I know it's like, a big blockbustery kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
I hated that movie.
You know what? I hated it too when I first saw it. I hated it too. I did, because I was still very, very young, and like Clockwork Orange, I watched it when I was 16 and I hated it. I watched it as an adult and I was like, this film is brilliant. I don't think I understood dark humor. I certainly did not understand horror films for a very long time. But yeah, I remember the scene where Sam Jackson and John Travolta are having an argument, and then they accidentally blow Phil Lamar's head off. And I was like, why is that funny? Like, why is it? I don't get it. The guy's dead. That's not funny. Murder is not funny. I remember.
Right. I was like, when I walked out and I went on my rampage, he did the lean in. He's like, do you like this movie? I'm like, I hate this movie. And he's like, really? Do you want to leave? I'm like, yes. So we left, and I was on this rampage, and he just started laughing, and he's like, why do you hate it so much? I'm like, it's like a violent Woody Allen. It's
my God, that's brilliant. That is a brilliant assessment of a Quentin Tarantino film, especially Pulp Fiction, a violent Woody Allen. That is brilliant.
Thank you. But I'm like, he's just droning and droning over the same thing. And it wasn't even people dying so much. It was just making me crazy because it was just perseveration everywhere.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we could go on with this forever, but
No, I know we have to wrap up, and you have to tell me, did you ever watch it again?
no, I
I'd be
haven't.
curious. I'd be curious for you to watch it again and see if, because you've changed and grown, and you're, I'm not saying that your opinion wasn't valid then. I'd be very curious about your opinion now, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I should do it. I will. I promise you. And
Excellent.
I'll tell you how I feel.
Excellent.
Yeah, and Morgan was agreeing with you about
The Lighthouse. I saw that. Yes, The Lighthouse.
Either The Lighthouse or The Killing of the Sacred Deer. She said that's such a out there movie.
Both of them are pretty out there movies.
Oh, Morgan hated it too, so she's gonna rewatch it with me.
Oh, Killing of the Sacred. I see it, Morgan. Yeah, it is an out there movie. Oh, she saw it. Oh, that's awesome. I'm completely impressed by Morgan.
So as we're wrapping up, so tell people again. I'm gonna attach the link for the trailer for the movie, but tell them the name of it again so they can look out for it.
It's called 9 Days. It's written and directed by the wonderful Edson Oda. It's a very special film. It opens January, I think, 22nd by Sony Pictures Classics. I'm sure you'll be hearing more about it because I'm sure there'll be some promotion and hopefully people see it.
Yes, yeah, it'll get out there.
Stupid pandemic.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for listening to me ramble.
It'll get out there, and oh my God, Arianna, I love you. Thank you so much for being here and sharing, just talking. It was really great to talk to you.
Yeah, it's so nice to just hang out and talk.
And everybody join. Oh my God, we so miss you. But yeah, we keep saying we're going to get out to California. It's going to happen.
That's okay.
Eventually.
I'll be out east eventually too.
Good. Okay. So this space is all about inspiring each other, connecting and sharing stories. So please like, follow, share. And thank you everybody for taking this hour to be with us. We really appreciate you, and wishing everybody health first and foremost, and safety and all that good stuff. So sending love out to everybody. And thanks, Arianna.
Bye.
Okay, bye everybody.